Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I see we have some Leadership Yankton students in the building tonight, so thank you for coming and spending your Monday night with us. With that, we'll have Al do the roll call.
Benson.
Here.
Sarda. Here. Gross. Here. Hoffner.
Present.
Maibaum.
Here.
Minor.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
City Manager Leon.
Here.
City Attorney Dan Herder.
Here. All right, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of August 27th, 2018, and the work session of August 27th, 2018. What is your pleasure?
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
If anyone's opposed, say no. Thank you very much. Number 3, you have before you the schedule of bills. What is your pleasure?
Move we pay the bills.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the commission about this item? Does anyone from the public have anything they wish to address with the commission on this item? Roll call.
Hoffner.
Aye.
Maibaum.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mosier.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Sarda.
Aye.
Gross.
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 4, city manager's report.
Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission, and members of the public, just one quick item to remind us all of tomorrow being 9/11. There is a memorial service for which we've notified the media of a potential quorum of the City Commission. That is at 7 p.m. at the Yankton Middle School. There is some information in your packet. However, if you have nothing further for me, I don't have anything else for you. I'll stand for questions.
Are there any questions? All right. Next, we'll move on to public appearances. This is a time when persons wishing to address the commission about an item that is not on tonight's agenda can step to the podium. All right. Seeing no one moving, we'll move on to the next item. Consent agenda. Number 1. Setting the date of September 24th, 2018 at 6 p.m. in room 114 of the Career Manufacturing Technical Education Academy for the next work session of the Yankton City Commission. Not sure if Amy has selected a topic for that item, for that meeting yet.
We're going to talk about cats.
Cats.
Heartland Humane Society is going to be with us to talk about community cats and the perceived and sometimes real issues of cats in our communities and how we might be able to better deal with those clouders of cats that maybe aren't pets but live in our neighborhoods.
It's a population we don't talk about every meeting, so I'm sure we'll learn something. Number 2, consideration of Memorandum 18-185 regarding approval of the current list of volunteer firefighters per workers' compensation and South Dakota codified law requirements. Number 3 is establishing September 24th, 2018 as the date for the public hearing on the request for a special events malt beverage on-sale retailer's license and a special retail on-sale wine dealer's license for one day, Saturday, October 27, 2018, from Checkers, Inc., between 2nd and 3rd Street on Walnut Street. Number 4, establishing September 24th, 2018, as the date for the public hearing on the request for a special events retail on-sale liquor license for one day, October 6, 2018, from Dayhuff Enterprises, doing business as O'Malley's Bar, at 800 Archery Lane in Yankton. Number 5, discussion to establish Tuesday, November 13th at 7 p.m. as the date and time for the first City Commission meeting in November due to the Veterans Day holiday. Number 6, establish September 24th, 2018 as the date for the public hearing on the request for a special events malt beverage on sale retailer's license and a special retail on sale wine dealer's license for one day, Friday, October 5th, 2018, from the Lewis and Clark Theater Company at 328 Walnut Street. And finally, number 7, establish September 24th, 2018 as the date for the public hearing on the request for a special events malt beverage on sale retailer's license and a special retail on sale wine dealer's license for one day, Friday, October 12th, 2018, from Lewis and Clark Theater Company at 328 Walnut Street. What is your pleasure? We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have questions about the consent agenda this evening? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on these items? All right. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed say no. Thank you very much. Now on to old business. First, we have second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1001, an ordinance to appropriate monies for defraying the necessary expenses and liabilities of the city of Yankton for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2019, and ending December 31st, 2019, and providing for the levy of annual taxes for all funds created by ordinance within said city. And then there's also Part B to this, consideration of Resolution 18-60, adopting the 2019 fiscal year budget and directing the city manager to administer the budget as required by state law. What is your pleasure?
One small correction on that. That's ordinance 1011 instead of 1001. So.
Thank you for that correction, Al.
I move approval on the budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does the commission have any questions on this item, or does the city manager wish to say anything about next year's budget?
Did anybody notice in the newspaper, this P&D this morning, the I believe it was 69 budget was 1.6 million. So we've got to get it under control, guys.
You made the motion.
Just for the
Small clarification, that was before my time too.
we did make the change to the Onward Yankton request in 2019. There's $15,000 budgeted in the Triple B for 19, so that change was made. And we also did make some adjustments of our revenue projections based on the sales tax numbers that we received for June. Other than that, there's very little change then from what you saw in the proposed budget.
Are there any other questions amongst commissioners? All right, does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Very well. Roll call, Al.
Mybom,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Moser,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Now on to new business. Number 1, consideration of...
Don't you have to do Part B?
Oh, your motion was not for Part A and Part B?
I just moved approval of the budget, I'm sorry.
Okay. Then what is your pleasure regarding the resolution?
I move approval of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have any comments or questions on this item? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Minor,
Aye.
Moser,
Aye.
Benson,
Aye.
Sarda,
Aye.
Gross,
Aye.
Hoffman,
Aye.
Mybom,
Aye.
Mayor Johnson.
Aye, motion passes. Now, on to new business. Consideration of memorandum 18-184 regarding a change order for the water plant, and this would be in the amount of $30,881. What is your pleasure?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have questions about this item? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Number 2 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-189 regarding a bid award for annual supply of sludge removal for wastewater and water treatment plants. What is your pleasure?
Move approval of the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or comments on this item? Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 3 under new business is consideration of memorandum 18-186 recommending approval of resolution 18-61 setting new wastewater rates effective November 1st, 2018. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Amy, would you mind introducing this subject to the public? Or Kyle, whichever one of you prefers to do
Sure,
that.
I'll give it a shot, and if I missing something, Kyle, you can fill the commission and the public in. What you have before you is a resolution to adjust wastewater rates for the city of Yankton. The proposed rate increase, if you all should pass it this evening, would be an increase of 5% over the current rates. And for what that means for most of the public, for an average wastewater utility customer, so that's 5,000 gallons per month, that'd be about $1.99 monthly increase. So some of you who've been on the commission for a while remember our standard rate increase for a long time was 3%, and we've moved that to 5% this year, and mostly because of some of the large projects that we're doing. As you know, we're still working on that gravity force main, and we've done the East Side Lift Station, and we've had quite a few unexpected happenings this year due to heavy rains and other equipment failure, and we've kept everything going, but all those things cost money. So this is the proposed increase for 19, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the city manager? All right, does anyone in the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 4, under new business, is consideration of memorandum 18-187, recommending approval of resolution 18-62, setting new solid waste collection rates effective November 1st, 2018. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Amy, would you do us the honor again of introducing this item?
Certainly. This is a resolution relating to solid waste and recycling rates for 2019. We're proposing a 5% operating increase over the current rates for this would be effective November 1st, 2018. It'll show up on your bill in December as with all the rate increases. Currently, the charge is $20.79 a month, and this would increase to $21.83, which by my math is about $1.04 increase. Reason for that increase is a couple of things. One, just of course the cost of doing business and those expenses going up over time. Also, we've been notified by our vendor that takes our single stream recycling that there will be an increase in charge to be able to bring our recycling to them. And there's a lot of unknowns right now with recycling, not just locally, but nationwide and across the planet, really. So we're taking a look at that, but we're not budgeting according to what we don't know. We're budgeting according to what we do know, and that's that our particular vendor is going to need to charge us more per drop off at Sioux Falls. So that's the reason for the increase on that item.
Commissioners, any other questions for the city manager? All right, does anyone from the public wish to address the commission? Yes, please.
My name is Edward Gleich. I got something about comment about the recycling things. And I got told, 1 and 2 is recyclable. And one of the garbage men said you can't recycle your deli plates. But my deli plate, my lid for my high-V chicken said number 2 on it. What if I wash it out? What if between my lid for my high-V chicken and a can of peanut mustard soup I rinsed out? They said they can't recycle the deli plate. It said number 2 on it. So I want to ask your opinion of that.
Well, this particular recycling center they try to make it actually easier than trying to read those impossible numbers on your plastics by saying tubs, jugs, and bottles. So if it's not a tub or jug or bottle, it goes into the black garbage bin. So the effort is to make that a little easier.
Well, I said we recycle 1 and 2s, so I'm leaving recycling.
Yeah, you have to kind of change the habits because we're all used to reading.
They don't
the
want
numbers.
deli plates in there, even though it's clean.
True. And the cleanliness that's an issue with the recycling. I could never read those little numbers on the bottom, so this is a little easier for me. But if you can try to keep that in mind, tubs, jugs, and bottles is recycling, and then your deli lids and your Hy-Vee Chinese containers have to go in the
Well,
garbage.
like I said, number 2, but you're not right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gleich. Does anyone else from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 5 under new business is Memorandum 18-188 in support of Resolution 18-63, setting rates for the consumption charges for the City of Yankton Water Fund effective November 1st, 2018. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Amy, can you introduce this item for the public, please?
Certainly. One more, Commissioner Gross. We'll get through it. This is the rate increase for the water. As you may recall, we passed a resolution 1656 that was adopted November 1st of 2016 to increase rates the 1st of November 16, 17, 18, and 19. So that residential surcharge increase is for 2018 was adopted at 24.61 with an increase of $2.90. We're proposing the 5% consumption rate and the previously adopted $2.90 surcharge. That would increase the average user, so average again being 5,000 gallons per month, from the current 49.46 to 53.76, which is an annual increase, which is an increase monthly of $4.30. So again, the water treatment plant is the major reason for those increases for the water. We also need to keep in mind that because of the loans that we have, our state revolving loan fund requires that our rates be set at 110%, so that we actually are more than ensuring the fact that even if consumption goes down, we still are covering the cost of construction. So that's the primary reason for that rate increase.
Are there any other questions from the commission on this item? All right, does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 6 under new business is consideration of Memorandum 18-183 regarding Resolution 18-59 for city surplus property. What is your pleasure?
Move the memorandum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the commission have questions or comments on this item? Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this item? Roll call.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 7 under new business is consideration of Memorandum 18-190 regarding Missouri Sedimentation Action Coalition Sediment Management Plan and request for funding. What is your pleasure?
I move approval of funding coming out of the triple B for $25,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Amy, did you want to talk about this item for us?
I certainly will, and if Commissioner Gross, you want to jump in anytime, since you have a lot more history than I do. The Missouri, and I'm going to lose my voice, the Missouri Sedimentation Action Coalition is continuing to work long-term on a solution for the sedimentation problem we have with Lewis and Clark Lake, and Commissioner Gross over the last couple of meetings has given us some good updates on that group, and it's really a multi-state, multi-agency coalition who's come together over a period of years to look at this issue and study this issue. And recently it has really gotten the attention of the federal government again, and there's another program through which we may be eligible to work through this issue and try to find a solution, not just for our community and tourism, but also for the natural resource that we know as our lake. So what we're asking you all to do tonight is to approve a financial contribution, of course, to become a part of that effort to match a grant opportunity that MSAC is applying for, and also to be the sponsoring agency. So there needs to be a taxing entity that can serve as a sponsoring agency, and we believe we're in the best position to do that for a couple of reasons. We've been at this for a long time. We've been involved since the beginning, and we have a little more staff than some of the other agencies who might be able to help work through these things with MSAC. I also know there's representation here from MSAC, and they may want to speak as well regarding the process and the status, but what we're asking tonight is that you'll approve our financial contribution as well as us being the lead agency and sponsoring entity.
I would just add that the reason we need to be a sponsoring entity or agency is because MSAC tried to do this and was told since they do not have taxing authority, they cannot submit. So it takes someone with taxing authority to submit. In addition to the City of Yankton, Sandy's already, our executive director has already talked to Knox County, Cedar County, Bonham County, Yankton County. We will not be alone in this. This is a group. MSAC's going to be a partner in this with us. It just, someone that has taxing ability has to take the lead. And that's really what we're asking you to do tonight.
Sandy, can you maybe come to the podium and talk about where you're at in the fundraising process, how you see this playing out? That would help us, I think.
Sure. Well, one of the big questions that looms out there is actually how much will this development of a plan cost? So part of the process is getting the stakeholders together, agreeing that we want to move forward in good faith with the Corps and explore exactly what the scope of the study would be, so then they can determine what the cost would be. And in our initial discussions with the Corps, the legislation itself says that it can be up to $3 million, and this is a 50-50% cost share with the federal government and 50% cost share with local stakeholders. But that $3 million is way on the high side. The Corps indicates that due to the great amount of research that's already been done on Lewis and Clark Lake, that it's more in the range of maybe up to $400,000 total for the development of the plan. So when we've gone out and talked to different county, cities, different organizations, we've already applied for a grant that we won't know about until early next year. But we're saying for right now, just for discussion purposes, the $400,000. But it could be less than that. It could be more than that. It just depends on what the stakeholders want to see in that plan. So, but I think overall, generally, the support is there. I think everyone feels that the time is long overdue, that we really need to come together and find a plan that will look at a wide range of research and come up with some good solutions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I would just add, we've also will approach the state of South Dakota both Department of Tourism and Game Fish and Parks, who definitely have an interest in this project. And so we will leave no stone unturned as we look for participants to help with this. The agreement does say it's non-binding, meaning if we can't raise the money, then they won't do the study. So we will take some time to finish raising money. We've gotten some commitments already, and if we can't, then it won't happen.
What's the timeline for this type of project that you're hoping to either submit or get action by?
Yep. I guess the idea is to get this package put together, a letter of intent with the supporting resolutions, perhaps within the next 60 days, get that to the Corps. And then there'd be a process of determining the scope that may take several months. And then possibly the actual plan starting in the May to June time frame. This is from preliminary discussions, and the actual finalizing, having this phase 1 of the plan developed could take up to maybe 18 months to 2 years. It can't take longer than 3 years because that's what's called for in the legislation, but due to what's already been done, there's a lot of wheels that don't have to be recreated in this process. So.
Overall, in the process of technology and this day and age, have you seen anything in the last 5 years that gets excited about new technology or something that can divert this? Obviously, we want to see it reversed.
Sure. I think this is a worldwide problem, so people are looking at it just all over the globe, and the United States knows there's plenty of reservoirs here that have the same issue. Gavin's Point is near the top of the list with the core reservoirs, and so there's technology being developed. I think some of what's already been studied, some of us are a little skeptical of, and we want to concentrate efforts on things that maybe haven't gotten a lot of attention so far, such as the Coker pipeline that's been talked about. Some of what's going to go into this argument is just the whole economics of it and how the country decides how to fund things like this. And originally, if it had been built into the cost of the dam, we wouldn't be here tonight talking about it. But that's part of the argument. I mean, we're kind of looking far ahead, that we need to make this argument that there's been all these dollars spent on addressing the problems of sedimentation, that we can't keep going down that road. It'd be better in the long run to address the problem. So, but I think there is reason to be optimistic in this process. We're also, MSAC is intending to hopefully enlist the expertise of someone that's really versed in sediment management, who's visited different locations around the globe regarding it. So,
yeah, said another way, MSAC has hired 2 different consultants to help MSAC direct the Corps in terms of what direction to take, and or as the Corps gives us feedback, we'll be able to say no, that isn't going to work. And so that's an additional cost to MSAC, but the board feels that we have to do that. We have to stay really on top of this as it's developing. And so that will be MSAC's commitment to this. And there will be a cost to MSAC, which in my mind should be part of the overall cost, but whether the Corps will allow it or not, I don't know.
And that's one other thing, as far as stakeholder engagement and keeping all the stakeholders on the same page throughout the process. It's possible that MSAC can get some in-kind contribution recognized as part of the local cost share. So, and that's another possibility. If there's any of the stakeholders that can make an in-kind contribution of some sort, that could be considered.
This might be putting the cart before the horse, but if we get a plan in place, does the funding to fix it mirror what it takes to do the study? So it will be up to the stakeholders to have to pay for that plan, or maybe that can't be answered yet. I'm just curious.
I think that's something that's yet to be determined, and I think even phase 2 of the study could involve different funding mechanisms. The second part would take a closer look at the environmental aspects, because first of all, we want to identify what are the real viable options for doing something about the sediment, and then the next step would be to look at those closer. But the implementation would be another, it would be an appropriation through Congress.
And one other footnote is we would be the first to request the study. No one else. I mean, we're writing the rule book as we go because they don't know how to deal with us because they've not done this before. And so it was interesting when we were in Washington in May to find out that Lewis and Clark Lake is number 3 out of the top 10 lakes with sediment problems. So the Corps already knows about Lewis and Clark Lake.
And there could be parts of this plan that would identify like short-term actions and long-term actions. So there may be different entities that would fund something short-term that you could identify the project beneficiary being someone very localized or something. So there's still a lot of options and alternatives that we're not aware of yet.
Thank you for what you're doing, and especially Commissioner Gross too, for your history on this and everything you've been doing for it. And then probably most of us, this has been going on most of our lives, so it's good to see that there's some momentum to try to stop it and make it better, so thank you.
Sandy, I don't know if you mentioned for the public, can you state your position again, your title?
Oh, sure. My name's Sandy Stockholm, and I'm the Executive Director with MSAC. I live in Springfield and have been involved with MSAC for about 15 years.
A lot of institutional knowledge there. Commissioners, are there any other questions on this item?
Would that motion also include that the city manager do her part as far as the documents? I don't know, I need to amend it. I just want to make sure that that would be covered in that also.
Okay. Al, do we have that covered?
It's part of the recommendation.
Okay. All right. Does anyone from the public wish to address the commission on this item? Thank you again, Sandy. Al, roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Due to my work as an independent contractor for MSAC, I will abstain.
Aye. Motion passes. There being no other business on the agenda this evening, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss contractual litigation and personnel matters under South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you, and thank you everyone who attended tonight's meeting.